Hello and welcome to the Cavern today. With us this week we have Jeff Wise.
Salutations.
We have Mr. Janathus.
Hello.
And we have our resident goofball Maris.
Shut up.
And in case you forgot, I'm Alhan, and yes, I'm actually back around this time. So, we're all together. We're in the same room-ish. What do we have to talk about today?
Well, we need to find out who is a member of the Bought the Cyan Complete Pack on Steam, Bevin.
Ooh.
I didn't.
I did.
I'm evil, I know. Sorry.
I actually did. Even though I already bought Real Mist, but I just looked at it and Cosmic Osmo was staring at me with those big old puppy dog eyes, and I just...
And it's on Steam. What more excuse do you really need?
Well, the only reason I actually didn't was the only game on there that I haven't played is basically Cosmic Osmo, and you know, as awesome as it being a Cyan game is, I still consider myself a bit of a mature gamer, so I know it won't hold my interest for more than 5 minutes, and then I'd never play it again. But otherwise, I either own all the others, or I've played them back back during the old Game Tap days. So
I'm having problems getting Riven working. And it runs. I have to. One thing you have to do if you're running Riven on a computer, like say I have a 1920 by 1200 display, you need to close everything. That isn't the game. Steam, of course, you can't not leave open, but the reason being because it's going to take your resolution down to 640 by 480, and everything that's open at the time is going to get resized.
Ooh, yeah.
So
yeah,
they really.
Well,
I mean,
you can
I don't
set it to run like in a window, but then you have like a little tiny window in the center.
Yeah,
of the screen.
it's like
It's impossible to play Riven that way.
It's about a postage stamp sized window. Yeah, it's real nice. So I wish they would figure out a way to get it to scale upward. I mean, even if it would widen the pixels and stuff, I would be cool with that, just so that it wouldn't resize things. But aside from that problem, I run into random lockups. I don't know what's causing it.
Which is funny, because I got the Cyan Complete Pack as well, and I haven't had any lockups at all while I've been playing Riven. So
Yeah,
I haven't had a lot of the same problems that other people have.
Yeah, I've looked on the
I
forums,
tried
and
it.
some people are having it, some people aren't. I have Windows 7 64-bit, if that makes a difference. So
Same what I'm running too, so it's a mystery.
could be my driver.
Interestingly enough, it says that XP is not supported, and yet, however, I can get it to run perfectly fine in XP, which surprised me. Unfortunately, and to my dismay, I discovered that the version that was downloaded to my computer, for whatever reason, had the same exact issues that the one that was on Good Old Games had, i.e. there was like a bunch of missing animations. Like, when you press buttons and stuff, they don't press, you just hear the shunk-dunk.
I haven't seen that, so that might be relative to your driver set.
Well,
Right,
I don't see what having a different driver has anything to do with play this movie file. You know?
I don't know. Like every part, every button that I've thrown in Riven has worked. I mean, the little button that summoned the maglev, the lever that's at the beginning for the little scope, the button.
And even
at the end
so, all the animations that are missing are like conveniently not necessary animations, like buttons and stuff that are not crucial. So it seems like it was intentional.
Maybe
like,
they just scaled back for your wimpy little laptop
or something. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
You know,
I don't need that Switch. You know what a Switch looks like.
Today I visited my my drawer of games that I have, all my CD-ROM games from my computer. And I looked at that and I flipped through them. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of nice that they're all right here for me, but yeah, I'll get it on Steam. I don't even feel like getting it out of the drawer and taking the disc out of the carrier. I'd just rather just get on Steam.
We have evolved.
And that's
beyond
why
that.
Steam is doing so well. Because people, for convenience sake, are buying games they already own.
Well, it's the convenience is like if you want to back up the Steam folder, if you have to reinstall Windows, you just restore the Steam folder and it's all back, which is much faster than stick the first disk in, wait for it to copy.
Exactly.
You know, an hour later, the first game is done, you know. So anyway, moving on. Has anyone seen the Sholex Temple from the Mule forums?
I have not until you linked it to me, and it looks impressive. I'm officially impressed, so I might be downloading it in the next few days and checking it out.
I'm glad that somebody is doing something. I mean, even though I guess there's this embargo on the forums, like if you're doing user-made content without the blessing of Cyan, blah 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 blah. I'm like, I don't understand how they could ever front on that kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny now because if you see the Guild of Writers has their little logo changed to Guild of with like a black box that says message redacted, which is, I guess, their way of protesting having absolutely no support from Cyan, even though they said that they wanted to have that support. So it's like their way of saying, oh, okay, I guess you didn't want us to do this then.
Yeah, I think it looks really interesting, and I'm really excited that people are still kind of putting out some quality work in just the fan ages.
Yeah, I'm going through the images right now, and it looks like it would fit right into Uru.
Right, and I log into Uru every now and then, probably once or twice a week lately, and I still see quite a few people in the town walking around. I see new people all the time. I
don't recognize the names anymore. I wonder what's happening if we're actually getting a steady influx of new people that just tire out after a certain period of time.
Yeah, they're just checking it out, looking around, and probably get confused by how overwhelming everything is if you don't understand what's going on.
On another note, I bought on the Cyan Complete Pack with the Uru Complete Chronicles that's in there. I played it for a little while, and it's interesting how quickly you tire of the lonely experience, even though you may not integrate with people or may not interact with a lot of people in the multiplayer. The fact that it's always there somehow is comforting.
For me, it's having the chat, having the key in full feature, as well as having a city with people in it. Even if you're never there, you still get to see the random just snippets of chat that pop in as you run past groups of people.
Yeah.
The city in Complete Chronicles is the most depressing thing you'll ever see in a MISC game, because you know what it's supposed to be, and then you see what it is, and it just isn't the same.
I remember when I first played the Ages Beyond Mist, and people were saying, "Oh, the key is so neutered," and I didn't know the key any other way at that point because I didn't get into Prologue. Well, strictly speaking, they did let me in, but it didn't load very well the first couple of times, which made me go, "Yeah, I'll come back when they fix it."
Yeah. Well, yeah. We know how Prologue ended.
Yeah, which brings me to the point that Complete Chronicles is actually kind of kludgy now. I remember that we had problems with Mule with certain ages, gradually being fixed as time went along. I can't stay up stable in Teledan in Complete Chronicles from the Complete Pack. It seems like it will give me maybe as much as 20 seconds before it kicks me. I forget that it's a stack error or whatever, the one that we always saw when Mule was first being ran on Vista when they were getting ready to make it live. But in any case, the Mule A, or however you want to refer to it, seems to be rock solid by comparison. So the free version is the better version.
Yeah, it's very strange. The one thing I really liked about Complete Chronicles, though, was the whole storyline with the grower and all the little verses from the books of prophecy that were scattered around the place, and trying to find that and collect all the clues and solve that really elaborate puzzle that more or less involved you standing in places for long periods of time.
That's the only thing I miss about the online version versus the offline, is the ability to go to the tree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, not knocking the online one too much, but at least with the offline, Anone and Nirkana had a point. You had a story, you had a definite goal, and you were attempting to solve this puzzle of the grower. While in MOUL, in MOUL, you didn't really have anything. After you had the journey, and they threw in the Garden Ages, and they went with their storyline, which that's a whole nother topic we could go into and have gone into, but it seemed like that the emphasis was really taken away from the Ages, other than, oh, and by the way, here's a world, go have fun. And I really kind of missed that.
Yeah. It's interesting how you stumbled there. Mule? Is it called Mule? It's been so long, you can't even remember.
Yeah. Well, I'm getting used to a whole new slews of acronyms with different video games. There's Tor for the Old Republic, and GW2, and the WoW is always the big one, so yeah.
Oh, WoW is crazy. If you ever get into WoW, just nobody talks with full sentences. Everything's abbreviated. I'm like, okay, what is that again?
And it throws me off. Someone was calling potions pots, and every time I saw a POTS, I was thinking Path of the Shell.
Awesome.
Moving on, still staying with the Cyan subject, have anyone heard of the Starry Expanse project?
Oh yeah, I'm the one who added this to the list. I was really interested. This is an effort by a number of programmers and designers and artists to recreate, basically to make real Riven. They're recreating all of Riven in a 3D environment with the intention of creating like their own real Riven.
The early screenshots that they've put out for this are gorgeous. I'm seriously impressed. I mean, you hear about projects kind of like this for other games that happen all the time, and they never end up looking well, and 90% of them never get done. This one, we don't know if it'll get done, but at least at the beginning, it looks gorgeous.
Yeah. The only thing I think I worry about is the maglev rides, if they can get that right.
Yeah.
Because maglev rides, of course, and if they actually intend to recreate the entire game, they're going to have an issue when it comes to people. Because, I mean, people are hard to render for, like, advanced game designers, and these guys are just, Well,
also, if you remember in Complete Chronicles, actually it's probably in Meal A as well, when you ride that little elevator up and down when you're in Anone, you notice that the little tune doesn't quite stay in the same place as the elevator chair. His hands and his butt and his feet go through it, and the clipping errors. I'm imagining that you might have some fun when they get to the maglev. And on top of the fact, the maglev does a couple of interesting things, like it has an upward swoop that's so hard that it actually hops the track briefly. So, they have a challenge ahead of them.
That's been a while.
Yeah, so, and also they have the mine car ride. That's going to be pretty interesting to see how they manage that. But I look forward to seeing the map islands, with the spires of rocks and all that colorful, greeny, glowy water. I can't wait to see how that turns out, because if they can use like DirectX 8 or 9 functionality there, it'll look gorgeous.
Oh, yes.
All of the characters in the game are going to be they're computer generated, so they're going to be characters that are basically like the ones that we saw in Myst 5 and Uru, acting
although hopefully
out
a little better.
Well, they showed some pictures of the Moiety warrior or whatever, and it looks amazing.
Hopefully that works well. The things they haven't shown so far is people with the faces.
Yeah,
and that's where they're really going to have a challenge. But I'm happy that they're trying. I mean, they may not get there, but hopefully they get at least part of it done so they can release it, so we can toy with it and see how it looks. And then we can bemoan that Cyan didn't do this. So, moving on, Cyan has decided to finally branch out into a new sector. The Cyan Stone Ship has been announced for the iPhone.
I think this is a good move for them, actually, as a whole company. And the future of technology has, Web 3.0 has pretty widely been announced to be the mobile revolution. And for the first time, Cyan is actually right in the middle of the game, as opposed to being 3 steps behind the curve like they've been for the past decade. Yeah. Whether or not Stone Ship's a great game, obviously, it's got the Myst reference, but they're aiming for it to be a little bit more tower defense strategy style game. Whether or not it's considered canon to Myst, we'll find out. But at this point, what I see them is them branching out into newer style games that they haven't really done before on a mobile platform for a low price. And this is the direction that gaming is going. This is the direction that they have to go.
Yeah,
and
I hope it actually isn't canon to Myst. I really do, because it's.
Well, when you're talking canon and Myst, we've got enough issues there to begin with. But I do agree with you.
Yeah, because if they make it canon to Myst, I feel like they're pigeonholing themselves and just showing that they can't get out of that particular hole.
It doesn't seem like it has anything to do with Myst from what I've seen of it and what I've read of it.
From what it looks like, it's
just namely just a reference only in name.
Mm-hmm. It might be a little bit inspired by like some of the backstory with the raiding pirate bands on Stone Ship, but at the same time, it's so, even for Myst fans, it's so incredibly obscure. I think that's pretty much more just their inside joke / throw the Myst fans a bone.
Yeah. But have you heard about the Epic Citadel for iPhone?
I have Epic Citadel on my iPod Touch, and it is gorgeous. it's seriously gorgeous.
Yeah, I was watching videos of that. That's the really amazingly high graphic level for a mobile phone game, or
it's
whatever it is.
The full-featured Unreal Engine 3, which, for those of you who don't really know, that's BioShock was built on it, Arkham Asylum was built on it, America's Army 3 is built on it, Mass Effect is built on it.
Yeah, it's kind of a who's who of modern-day games on consoles and PC. Mm-hmm. And so that's my whole point of getting there is that Cyan wants to do, 3D stuff on the iPhone. I think that they would do worse than to partake of this particular engine, so that they could actually, take an established property, established technology, and actually get somewhere, not have to fight with the technology. More so just develop what they want to do. So I really think
wonder how much it costs to license the Unreal Engine.
Well, they're adding it to the Unreal 3 thing, but in any case, that's just one of those things that has me looking at the future of potential gaming on phones and touch devices, and it's going to turn into a Mac versus PC thing between the iPhone and Android in short order, because
it almost already has.
Yeah, the iPhone has rather consistent tech, the 400 megahertz processor in the iPhone 3G, the 600 in the iPhone 3GS, and the 1 gigahertz in the iPhone 4. I have an Android phone that has 1 gigahertz processor, but then the hardware specifics are all over the place on the Android, which means supporting products on Android is going to be really problematic for anyone who wants to. But in the same vein, that with Macs you have a very tight experience and a very limited selection of applications, but they're all pretty solid. That's pretty much what you talk about with the iPhone. With the PC, you're all over the place. You've got things like stupid toolbars for your web browser versus completely solid Microsoft design software for Windows. And I actually think that Google needs to get into the market of actually making software tailored for the Android experience. Like, I think they should have an iTunes competitor sooner rather than later. Not necessarily for like selling music and videos, but organizing it and syncing it to the phone seamlessly. So nothing that I know of compares. Which, I guess, am I popping? Yes. We're talking about Stone Ship. So let's rejigger these points here. iMiss and iRiven have been talked about coming onto Android. I thought, as soon as I got this phone, I thought this thing is so powerful, and I saw reviews that show that it's just so much. This phone I currently have is the fastest Android phone there is currently.
There's power in mobile devices these days that would really surprise you. But
yeah, did you remember when like Intel could barely get a 1 gigahertz processor stable on the desktop with a fan building? Now I've got a 1 gigahertz processor in my pocket.
Exactly.
So
my first computer was a Pentium 33 megahertz that ran Windows 95, and I was able to play TIE Fighter on it. And, well, I still consider that one of the best games I've ever played. But that was my first computer, and I thought that was impressive at the time. And now I've got something with 20 times the storage space and about 10 times the power. Well, not more than 10 times, more, almost 100 times the power, just in my iPod Touch, which is basically the iPhone 3G version.
Actually, about 120 times.
I'm sorry. It's still downright impressive where we've come from in even just 10 years.
But I think that the tech that we're dealing with in phones, like the 1 gigahertz processor, is not equal to, say, a Pentium 3 at 1 gigahertz.
Yeah, but at this point, it's weird even calling them phones, because the ability to make phone calls seems so secondary to everything else that these mobile devices do.
The way I've heard it best described is the iPhone is a pocket computer that has the side ability of being able to make phone calls. I have a cell phone that I have, the free cell phone, the cheap one that you get with getting a data plan, so I don't need the phone. So I have an iPod Touch to be my pocket computer, and that's what I use it for, and it's wonderful for that.
Yeah. That's with my phone. That's where I'm at. Is a lot of things are on here that people tell me, this phone does what I need, and that's all I need on a phone. It's like you don't think you need this, and then you have it, and then you're like, how did I live without this?
I'm in the unique situation actually where my phone is basically broken and my iPod is basically broken. So this is the only time ever that I would actually be okay with getting an iPhone. And the thing is, I have Verizon, so I'm sort of crossing my fingers and hoping they announce their support
iPhone
with Verizon.
Well, I would investigate the Fascinate before assuming the iPhone is definitely your path, because it's the Fascinate is the Samsung Galaxy S on there. Like I said, it's the fastest Android phone, and Android is beginning to eat Apple's lunch on the smartphone market. So
Let me clarify. I need a new iPod. So that's why that's a good idea.
an iPod for music playing.
Yes.
I have something on the Android phone called iSyncer. Allows me to sync right from iTunes to my phone without any problems. And I have a music player called BTunes, which looks just like the music player on the iPhone. So
That's pretty nice.
That's one of the things that's nice about the Android is that you can swap. If you don't like an application, you can swap it out. Like the text message has this text limit where you have to hit more to see the rest of the text message. And my niece, who text messages me, sends me these massive, long books of text messaging that to her is actually 3-4 messages. For me, is one message with a more button. Well, the more button was bugging me because the iPhone never did that. So I switched to one called Chomp SMS, and in the process gained a fully customizable application. I can change the background to a wallpaper if I want. I can change the color of the text, the size of the text, the font of the text. I can download fonts if they don't have
ability a couple months ago. So
Hey, what?
iPhone only got the ability to give yourself a wallpaper a couple of months ago officially.
Yeah. And this is a wallpaper in an application. This is just so it's I don't know. I actually took it and made the wallpaper the same on my phone as it is in my text message application. I've swapped out the video player, the music player, and the text messaging player. I could actually change out the email program if I really wanted to. You can add keyboards to the text messaging functionality if you need a different keyboard laid out slightly differently. So the customizability really turns me onto this phone, and the main reason I got it in the first place is just because it was bigger than the iPhone, so the keyboard is easy to type on. Still virtual though. Anyway, since we're talking about iMist and iRiven potentially going to Android, let's talk about iRiven. Site has been launched. Is there a release date?
Yeah.
No.
No, not yet. But,
when it's done,
nice
right?
that it's coming.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what we all wanted. Because, even though we all liked Myst, all of us did, but Riven was really, I think, where we all fell in love with the franchise.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's no if, ands, or buts about it. Riven was Cyan's magnum opus.
It really is.
It really was. And even today, it's surprising how well that game holds up. It's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
The only thing I don't understand is how in God's name are they going to get that on an iPhone? I still am
the biggest
shocked.
App ever.
I am still today shocked. Well, first of all, have you ever tried installing even on Steam? It's big. It's like 2 to 3 gigs.
Yeah.
Which is unheard of for a game at that time.
That's because they tried to keep as much of the resources as true to the source material as they could, so that way it looked as good as it could.
I remember back in the day,
was,
installing the original Riven was 100 megabyte install, and I thought, wow, that's crazy. And it was still just running stuff off of the CDs.
And now we have games that regularly install at 8 gig, 9 gigs, so...
Yeah, Modern Warfare 2 is 11 gigs.
Borderlands takes up an entire 10 gigs of the hard drive. That's just... it makes total sense, but it still just shocks me.
Well, that's what had me looking at my drawer the other day. I'm like, oh, it's so cute. There's 3 CD-ROMs in there for that one game. 3 CD-ROMs isn't even a third of Modern Warfare 2.
I should consider myself...
adventure game. It's it's an 8 CD game. Oh no, 10 CDs, sorry. It's one of those FMV games that were really popular in the 90s.
Oh dear. Which one?
Black Dahlia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's about the torso murders or whatever of the 1940s or... I
played one called Phantasmagoria.
Phantasmagoria!
The same makers, actually.
Yeah, that's an oldie but goodie, I guess. I couldn't get into it because, after you played Riven and you play something like that, it's like, this is just too primitive for me. I can't do it.
Mm-hmm. Riven set the bar and it stayed there.
That's exactly what happened to me lately with, I just decided I was going to, since I own Modern Warfare 2, I might as well, start dilly-dallying with the multiplayer and, of course, getting my butt kicked left and right. But then I try things like Half-Life 2 Deathmatch or Counter-Strike, and it's too primitive. I can't do it. So moving on, we also have another iOS release, the this one actually is out, the Manhole for iOS.
I have not downloaded it yet, mostly because I'm just not interested in the Manhole. But from what I've seen, it looks pretty. I mean, not like the Manhole takes a lot of power to it.
Yeah. I played the Manhole on Steam with the Cyan Complete Pack, and I was amazed at how much I enjoyed goofing around in it. I mean, I didn't goof around for longer than maybe 45 minutes, but there's quite a lot of fun Easter eggs and stuff hidden in that game. You find phones in each of the different animal character, anthropomorphic, whatever's houses, and you can like crank call the other animals, and it's fun to kind of visit each of their houses and call them and see what kind of weird things they have to say. And so it became for me, a hunt for the next phone.
I'm looking at the Manhole site right now. Click here for more info.
I mean, it's definitely been remastered. It's got some kind of crude 3D elements in it that definitely look like a couple of them were ripped out of Myst. But all in all, I mean, for an iPhone port, iPhones mostly...
Well, I wouldn't say that it's ripped out of Myst. I think it ended up in Myst.
Well, yeah, most likely. I got to get my timetables right. But, for what it is, it's actually pretty cool. I've got to, got to give it to them. There's actually not that many games and such on the iDevices for what I would consider to be younger kids. Not that too many younger kids would own an iDevice at this point, but still to have the selection is kind of nice.
If they're spoiled, they do.
Well, yeah. But it's still something really neat. It's a niche that actually hasn't been filled on the iPhone, really. And for once, Cyan is ahead of the curve in something. Whether it'll do a lot for them, probably not. But
if they really flesh out their abilities on the iPhone and portable devices, I think there might be a market for it, because the big push, even my company who does support for desktop computers and laptop computers, is aware that there's a big movement towards phones and portable devices for computing as a primary platform. So we have things like they want to know how knowledgeable we are with portable devices like Android and iPhone, and we have tests for Mac computers, even though we're PC only at the moment. So it's not impossible that we could move to a point where, I think I'm pretty sure I was talking to you, Al, when I made this joke. I said, before you know it, the next 10 years, our computers will be something we wear on our wrist, and it's a holographic interface. Desktop PCs will laugh at those things.
It already is. Look at the new iPod Nano. I've seen people have already put wristbands on it, and it is the computer. It is the computer watch. Now, in a future software update, put something like Skype on it. There you go.
Yeah.
It's not going to take 10 years. It's going to take 2, 3.
The simplicity of the applications, on the iPhone really speak to some people. All you do is just tap on it. There's your program.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to somebody about video game controllers, and they were talking about this technology to wirelessly charge things now by sending kind of like a electric current through some kind of like microwave relay or whatever.
Yeah.
Thinking, wow, that's like it's starting to get to that point where we can have our wireless devices constantly being charged from these.
Yeah, people are like, what if I get my head between my wireless device and the charger? What happens then?
You fry your brain.
Oh no!
Isn't that what they said about those Walkmans and stuff are going to fry our brains in the first place?
Well, some people do blow their ears out with earphones sometimes. Some people just don't know when is enough.
It's a really big problem
like
amongst the young students these days. It's something they've talked to me about as a teacher during my teaching classes. Like to warn students that they're listening to music too loud if you can hear clearly what they are listening to and they are wearing headphones.
Yeah, even I fall into that trap once in a while. Part of it, I have an excuse because I played trumpet for 8 years in a band where I sat right in front of the bass drum or the timpani every year. So I've got an excuse there, but I can already tell my hearing's going a little bit.
Oh, no.
Well, just a little bit, not a lot.
Alhan's getting up there. What's that, Sonny? You and your newfangled...
Where's my ear horn?
Get off my lawn!
Hey, you live in an apartment. It's not your lawn.
Yeah, I know.
So moving on to the over-the-fence off-topic stuff.
Hey, the fun stuff. Oh, wait.
Hey.
We have a little bit of a furor with Medal of Honor, and the new multiplayer will allow people to play as Al-Qaeda. Is anyone really shocked or disturbed by this development? Is it a big issue, do you think?
I think it makes sense. It's an evolution of, as we were talking about before we started going on the air. Playing as Nazis in World War II games, playing as the Viet Cong in Vietnam games, is just kind of the extension of that. Should it be allowed? Maybe. Is it tasteful? I'd like to say no, but at the same time, I'm not the target audience for a realistic Medal of Honor game. So, I guess I really don't have a problem with it, but I'm not going to be going out and buying it anytime soon anyway. So this was even before the Taliban stuff was mentioned. So
some people say things like when there's people play cops, somebody's got to be the robber, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
in a way, I kind of agree with that. But
when you play in I don't know how Modern Warfare 2 is, or excuse me, Medal of Honor is doing it, but Modern Warfare 2, I mean, the teams are just a way of identifying that they're on the other team. It's really all it is. I mean, they could just paint you in red and blue.
Hey, I play a game kind of like that. It's called Team Fortress.
Yeah, so there really isn't
Halo or any other.
Yeah, so there really isn't. It's just a way to identify, and the keeping the terrorist designation is more so to just, I guess, make it a little more authentic. But I think the really important point here, the thing that people are not grasping, is that it is a game. A couple of things like, who here reads crack.com?
I do. Quite a bit, actually.
They have a great article on there about, guns, 6 myths about guns that, we believe because of the movies. Things like, a silencer turns a gun into a whispered cough. That assault rifles are like, grinding machines of death, and they take this thing where they said, here's a small child firing an M4. And he fires in it. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's empty. He's like, no, he didn't stop shooting because he was tired. He's out of bullets. That's right. Mm-hmm. That's all the bullets that gun contains. That's 30 bullets. I guess it fires 400 bullets in the span of like something seconds. But, these are things where like the reality of what violence and guns in these scenarios is very different from what these games portray, and very different from what movies portray. And so to me, it's a matter of keeping perspective. It's a game. Regardless of how authentic the content may or may not be, it's still, no matter what, it's not really real. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think anyone is running around the battlefield with twin pistols running really, really fast and somehow avoiding being shot. I just don't think so.
There used to be a House of the Dead arcade machine in my college kind of relaxing, what do they call that, quad room or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it was only 25 cents, so I would frequently, put in 50 cents and play with both guns. The game became so much harder playing with 2 guns. It's so much harder to concentrate on things, and you just die a lot faster. And I imagine, playing, in a realistic combat, running with, guns akimbo like that is just asking to die very quickly.
It's like, as I said, nobody carries 2 pistols unless they don't want to hit anything. I mean, that's only something that happens in action movies. You only have the ability to focus on one point, which means you'd have to, aim down one sight. I mean, you could hold a gun on each hand in 2 different directions, but you wouldn't be able to aim them appropriately, Mm-hmm. So, as an example, and I also read Destructoid pretty devoutly. The guy in there, Jim Sterling, has started doing rants, which I'm kind of, I can take or leave. I mean, sometimes his ranting is just like, whiny little so-and-so. And other times it's actually really poignant. And the point that he made, he showed a video. It was disturbing. He prefaced that it was disturbing. It showed a senator shooting himself on camera, shooting himself in the mouth with a revolver. And it was kind of disturbing because, when you see carnage in real life and you see it in the movies it's always kind of like this spray of chunks and blood. And this thing, it was literally just the hole formed and blood started pouring out. And the gun, because he put it stuck in his mouth, made almost no noise at all. And he said that's the difference. Like, real life violence is not visceral and exciting and enjoyable. Real life violence is real life violence. Real violence in video games and movies is designed to be enjoyable for the audience. So there's still, regardless of how you think of these things, there's still a perspective that maintains the separation between these things. Mm-hmm. And it, just like people who do paintball, that's a simulation of guns. We should ban that. Before long, we're going to have virtual reality and holodecks and people carrying what looks like real guns that really can't hurt you. And, I'm sure there'll be a fury over that one too.
Well, until something goes wrong and then Professor Moriarty comes to life and
starts taking over.
I hated that episode so much.
I love that episode.
So bad.
And the machines start, making us slaves. As I always say in those cases, they make us slaves, we'll have job security. So.
Yep. I, for one, welcome our new robot overlords. Moving on a little bit, the game that won't die while we're speaking of zombies, Duke Nukem Forever is back. Again, for the, 27th time now? Thoughts?
Except
it's not possible!
Gearbox says it's done. It's ready to roll.
Yeah, it was playable at PAX this year. I really want to play this game because it feels like it feels like the end of a legacy. This game was announced when I was like in 6th grade. It's weird thinking about that. The scary
thing is apparently Gearbox has been working on it like the whole time. They just kept it completely secret. Like, good job, guys. Seriously.
And Michael Pachter is...
Well, Gearbox is also the people that brought us Borderlands, so
I know. I mean, it's in perfect hands, therefore.
Yeah, so...
Michael Pachter equated the completion of this game to like someone unable to open a jar of pickles, and it just keeps getting passed around from person to person until it finally gets to Gearbox, and they're like, "Oh, here, click," and they just twist it off real quick to hand it back. And it's like, "Here, we opened it for you."
It was the game has been officially in development since 1997. For comparison, I would have been 9 years old at the time when they announced this game.
Yeah, but you're only 17 now, so that doesn't work out. Huh?
I'm 22. Shut up.
It's like Uru, except Uru actually got off the ground.
It's like Team Fortress. Only Team Fortress actually came out. So.
Oh well, I wasn't around for that, or I was, but I wasn't a gamer yet.
Yeah. But yeah,
the ironic thing is that there's going to be like a Duke Nukem Forever 2 a year after the game comes out or something.
Oh my god.
It'll just be funny.
Duke Nukem DLC.
No. Well, it's Gearbox, so...
Hey, but at least they're doing... At this point, it's really sad to say, but Duke Nukem Forever is actually going to come out before Half-Life 2 Episode 3.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Think about that.
Oh my god, that is so sad because you're right. Oh,
and also, if this game takes off, the majority of people who are playing it have no idea what the predecessor games were.
Not at all.
I don't. So yeah.
Well, it can never possibly live up to the hype. Anything.
I mean, they had a couple of clones out there. Serious Sam. I used to love that website. Whenever you bring up Sam, I am. That was awesome.
But I just think it's neat that finally the legacy is coming to an end. It happened in my lifetime.
There's people with pre-orders from GameStop raising a fuss now. I knew I should have kept this receipt.
Yeah, those people get reimbursed at some point, or
if you look at the if you look kind of at the history of the game as put up on Wikipedia, it's really kind of interesting to see how it evolved, starting on the Quake 2 engine in 97, jumping to Unreal by 98. There were rumors that around 2003 it jumped to the Doom 3 engine, and obviously now it's going to be based on the Borderlands engine, I believe, at least semi-inspired by it. Unreal 3?
Unreal 3, right, yeah.
Yeah.
Except I thought it was on the Doom engine.
Yeah.
No, it's still on
Unreal
3 now.
I thought they had been on
at least 3 to 4 different engines, not counting if if one of the in-between developers decided to try and use Unreal 2 or Quake 3 in there. So this thing's been bounced around for a while.
Yeah. It's funny when development like that happens, how things slow down. I mean, Vista went through a similar problem. Splinter Cell went through a similar problem. These long development cycles, and I have people who I talk to who complain about the the way, things have changed between XP and today's versions of Windows. And it's like, XP was not meant to be in your possession for quite that long.
No,
Microsoft,
not at all.
if they had their druthers, would not have had you have a 10-year-old operating system. So, I'm sure that Duke Nukem was not intended to have gone through this many changes.
And only now is, XP finally starting to get driven out because people realize 7's actually competent. So
Yeah.
Yeah, Duke Nukem Forever to me is more like experiencing the legacy. It's like playing a documentary of the history of video games, all wrapped up in one single game.
I hope that it actually stands up. That's one of those things that, I don't have enough of a sense of the old games because it actually did predate my gaming lifestyle beginning. I started my PC gaming with Riven. So... But since then, I've become a little more hardcore. But in any case, we haven't used any of the quotes.
We should throw a couple of those out here. Yeah,
Duke Nukem, it's as necessary as the Cavern today.
Yeah, we were messing around with this sloganmaker.com and just trying to run the Cavern today through it to throw out a bunch of these crazy slogans. And there's some of them that are just kind of fun and funny.
It's not a trick. It's the Cavern today.
Pure power. Pure the Cavern today.
There's a bit of the Cavern today in all of us.
Yeah. This is what we do in our downtime, folks.
Yep.
It's one of those things like it's nerdy enough to be us, but whatever.
Yes, indeedy.
Speaking of nerdiness and things that nerds like to do, Video Games Live CD, DVD, Blu-ray coming October 19th.
Yay! Oh, very excited. Yeah, it's the second Video Games Live CD.
Can we get the yay again, but this time in 4-part harmony?
Yay! What, we Queen?
That was awful. That was just.
I see a little neural. No, forget it.
Oh my god! Apologize now.
I didn't say I could sing. Anyway, I look forward to the Blu-ray. I want to see the Mist medley properly shot.
Well, I'm really excited. It's going to have documentaries on certain games. It's going to have interviews with a number of composers. It's going to have a fair selection of a bunch of the pieces. From what I understand, most of these were from the South American concert that they recorded.
I thought it was Rio de Janeiro was where they did it.
Oh, okay. I could be wrong. I haven't done my research on that, but I'm excited. I listened to the first Video Games Live CD collection that they released all the time. And it'd be
they
nice
have a Mass Effect suite. I'm looking at the list.
I know.
Mass Effect suite.
I'll have to check that out.
Mist suite, Zelda suite, Martin Lung, Mario solo piano medley, World of Warcraft, Lament of the Highborn. Lots of good stuff in here. Some of the stuff I'm not as versed on. Like I like Baba Yetu from Civilization, but I've never played the game.
That's totally worth it.
StarCraft 2, I've never gotten into real-time strategy outside of like not Beyond Good and Evil. What's the word?
Okay, the Wings of Liberty suite, which is what they play at the concert, is just epic. It's like 6 minutes long, and it pretty much is a medley of all the major themes in the game, but it's beautiful. The StarCraft 2 soundtrack is fantastic. Fully orchestrated, epic.
I've never been a big StarCraft fan, but I might have to check that out.
Well,
DVD and Blu-ray.
Music on YouTube or something, so you can get a piece of it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I did. I took the Mist medley from the actual soundtrack that was released, and I downloaded a video of it playing on YouTube before, the copyright ninjas come out and kill the guy who had it posted. And
please, copyright police.
So, and I merged them together using, I think it was Windows Movie Maker. I might have done it on my Mac. It's hard to remember. But now I have my semi-audio visual experience. But I, of course, would prefer, Blu-ray.
The funny thing is, Tommy Tallarico was like encouraging people to post YouTube videos from the concerts until all the lawyers came down and told him that was a bad idea.
Really?
But he was thinking, it's free publicity for this concert. And I don't know.
It's kind of like how in the Star Wars fandom, there between the fans and Lucasfilm, there is an unwritten contract saying that as long as you don't do anything stupid like use our characters in pornographic ways or something like that, we're going to let you use any of our music or sound effects for fan films and fan audio dramas because it spreads the fandom. And as long as you're not trying to actively make money off of it, we're going to let you do it. And it's kind of the unwritten rule when it comes to Star Wars and its fans. And a few other companies have this. A few companies infamously don't have this and will prosecute fan products. But
which cuts their fans out pretty quickly.
Yeah, it usually does. Or the project just gets released in more sly ways. But at least with Video Games Live, Tommy Tallarico has always been kind of a people person. He was, even after a concert when I attended. The first time they came around down here in Milwaukee, he took time out of his way to take pictures with all three of us and directly complimented my little brother's hat, which because he's a music major, had a treble clef on it. He's always been a people person and he's here for the fans, so it's not too surprising to see that he wanted to spread, get the word out about his concert as much as he could.
Yeah, it was kind of funny when I saw Video Games Live here in Detroit. The theater is half empty.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Milwaukee, it was packed full. So
yeah, they had that little video game thing where they invited two kids up on stage to play the video games on screen,
mm-hmm.
and then they gave away like a $3,000 laptop to one of them, a gaming laptop.
Oh my gosh!
They do that at every concert.
Yeah, that kind of annoyed me. It's like they want an Xbox, they don't want a laptop to get me up there.
But that's what I've always liked about Video Games Live compared to all the other video games concerts that have been touring the country. But Video Games Live feels more like an event. They bring out all the composers to sign autographs. They have, the costume contest, and they have, a lot of fun things to do.
Well, it's kind of annoying that the other competitors are done because the way they're doing it is to directly compete with Video Games Live, and the reason that they're not giving Video Games Live the license to play their music is because they want to compete.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, instead of partaking, they decide to compete. It's kind of like the problem with when we had the Blu-ray and HD DVD.
Yeah,
nobody wants to play ball; they want to have their own license to print money.
Whenever you set something like this up, it's always going to come down to a one will stand, one will fall situation.
Mm-hmm.
And, in this case, in that case, it was Blu-ray, even though I was firmly in the HD DVD camp at the time. And Video Games
HD DVD being backward compatible with DVD, I was all over it.
Yeah, not to mention it was an fairly open format. But also, it's pretty obvious that VGL has become that when it comes to the live touring concerts. Like the Square Enix has tried a couple with Final Fantasy, and they never got off the West Coast. There's a couple other small groups that have tried, and they've never really gone anywhere. But VGL has gone international. Most of it's due to Tommy Tallarico working his butt off. And even before he started doing VGL, you see other characters, or not characters, but you see what Tommy Tallarico did with his work on his TV show I think it was called Electric Playground.
He's been on like several different TV shows.
And there was just always an energy to him, and whatever he was going to do, he was going to throw himself into full-fledged, and he definitely did that with VGL.
He's extremely passionate, and in countless interviews, he's told his story about how he got to where he was, and it's an amazing story of just being in the right place at the right time, because he moved from like the Midwest to California just to look for a job, and he spent his first 2 nights there sleeping under a pier at the beach until he got hired by I forget who hired him, but he got hired by a company. It's just kind of a crazy story of just being in the right place at the right time until he was able to finally get a chance to write music for games, which is what he wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
He's very, very generous about all his money and all the production. He's just passionate about video games, and I think that's what I like about Video Games Live. It's about a celebration of video games more so than it was anything else. And it was cool that Jack Wall got involved, and so you had this heavy presence of Myst, which would never show up in any other video game concert otherwise.
Mm-hmm. I was amazed Jack Wall actually managed to get all that together, for the Myst medley and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, and even a little nod to Uru that plays in the Mist piece. Where they do the gallery theme.
They sing the high point of the gallery theme, and that is the best moment of the series. And musically, to me, that is the best moment of the entire Mist series. So, I just love it. I mean, this is a show put on by fans for fans, all in a great celebration of the fandom of gaming.
That's kind of what you would like. I work in a company of people who do technical support, and of course we have the people who it's just a job, and we have the people who actually do have the love, and it's always better to work with the people who actually like doing this kind of thing, because they seem to do it a lot better than those who you're just doing it for a job. That's kind of the way I feel about Play. It just feels like it doesn't have a lot of heart in it. I could be wrong. I haven't experienced the show personally. But what I've seen from it, it just seems so... It's like they're trying to turn what would be otherwise an orchestral show where you would just go to the theater of video game music. It's what they're trying to do. So
I played in a number of bands and a couple of orchestras also, and I can tell you as a fact that's exactly how it works. If the band or the orchestra is into it, if we as a group we love what we're doing, we play so well. It's really a case of, if the band is having fun, the audience is going to have fun no matter what we're playing, because you can't hear it in the notes. Right notes are right notes and wrong notes are wrong notes, but passion can be heard even if you can't tell you're hearing it. It really can be. And when I went to see VGL, you could hear it. And me playing with different groups, when we play songs from movie soundtracks or something, that's stuff that I love, and I get really passionate about it. And that's when I also tend to sound the best when I'm playing. It works exactly like that.
Yeah. I had box seats and no Miss Medley. I'm still sad.
I went to the very first Video Games Live concert at the Hollywood Bowl before they even announced it was going to go on tour. Man, that place was packed, and Tommy Tallarico was at the top of his game because, at the point in time, they weren't sure that this was going to be more than one concert.
Mm-hmm.
So they just pulled out all the stops. It was amazing.
I'd like to know if they're still doing the Tron medley or whatever.
I've gone to the concert 3 times, and they've done the Tron medley at 2 of them.
Yeah.
Now the question becomes, if with Tron Legacy coming out, will we have Video Games Live with special guests, Daft Punk?
Oh, that would be fun.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
Okay.
Well, when I went to the second Video Games Live concert, they had BT, who's kind of a avant-garde electronica composer. And he performed with the orchestra kind of as a primer before the concert actually started, and it was pretty amazing because his new album was just coming out at the time. But
I don't see Tron mentioned in there anywhere. That's sad. Maybe it's because of the upcoming Legacy that they can't get the licensing for it.
Yeah, I think it ends up being licensing and rights. Tommy, in interviews, talked about how hard it was just to even be able to perform any of the Final Fantasy music because Square was, pushing for their own concert at the time.
They still couldn't. 2 years ago, when I went to it, they still couldn't show any of the actual video footage from it. So they were able to play One Winged Angel, but they weren't able to show anything from the Final Fantasy games, anything from Advent Children or from Spirits Within. So
they had a similar problem with Medal of Honor too.
Yeah, I remember seeing a video that they just had random people cosplaying on stage. I was like, this is awkward, even though the music's good.
Yeah, they did. They also had video from the war instead of actually from the game, which I think, as I mentioned before, there's a difference between the games and the reality. It kind of, to me, almost sets the wrong tone.
Yeah,
but,
well,
it's what they could do.
That piece from Medal of Honor Frontline, that really haunting
the Normandy
melody.
Yeah,
and seeing those images, from the war and everything, along with that music, it really, really is effective. But yeah, it's not. It doesn't really capture what the Medal of Honor game is about.
Yeah. Medal of Honor, I would say, like the first, I only played Allied Assault. After that, I was kind of over World War II. But the game felt to me sort of like take Indiana Jones and put him as a soldier in the war, and that's kind of what Medal of Honor Allied Assault is like.
Yeah, you're the Rambo soldier.
Yeah. And of course the guns back then that you can't reload mid-ship. You've got to empty that clip for it to spit out, all that good stuff.
Yep.
So anyway, looks like we've reached the end of our bullet points.
Yeah, but it's been fun. We got a lot talked about. And for once, we're actually not going too far insanely over time.
This is true.
Right. We need to fix that. Okay, Morris.
The Cavern today.
We're going to start picking on you, so just brace yourself.
Bracing.
I'm joking.
Well, for the Cavern today, this has been Alhan and Mr. Wise.
Let the Cavern today flow.
And this,
the Cavern today, created by nature.
And Morris.
The Cavern today, it's super awesome.
And this has been Alhan signing off. Have a good night, everyone.